Welcome to Tuesday at 7. We are here with Ron Hartwig. And Ron and I have known each other for quite some time, but wanted to introduce you to this space because I'm intrigued by it. But today we have Craig behind the camera. So if you guys want to interact, and we encourage you to do so with your comments, if there's any resources that, I ask, hey, this is a good website to keep an eye on, or these are some inspirations, we'll plug those in as well. But then if you guys have ever been part of a Tuesday at 7 show, we are a digital community. We gather every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we talk to people who have creative projects, who are creative minded. And Ron and I have been friends for quite some time. And I'm like, you're creative. He's like, I don't really have a creative. And I'm like, no, this space is pretty amazing. And we're going to explore that today because if you're an artist, right, you probably have a studio or a creative space that you withdraw to. If you're a writer, maybe you have a writing room. If you are Ron Hartwig or a friend of Ron Hartwig or a brother of Ron Hartwig, then you have access to the Whiskey and Wisdom Room. Is there an intention behind Whiskey and Wisdom as opposed to Wisdom and Whiskey?
Yeah, whiskey is free flowing, and wisdom for me should be served with a grain of salt. So, wisdom or whiskey first, then the wisdom will come.
The wisdom comes, and it rolls off. It rolls off off the tongue well too. Whiskey, wisdom.
Yeah, I thought it was a good little catch title, if you will.
Yeah. Well, if you guys have never joined us on a Tuesday 7 interview, there is a share button in the very bottom left-hand side of your screen. There's an arrow. When you press that arrow, Facebook will prompt you as to what to do next. We encourage you to share this to your friends list, to a group. We also encourage you to share this to an individual friend too, if that comes up. You might say,
yes,
this
please.
is the perfect one for Jimmy, or the perfect one for Ken, or the perfect one for whoever. Share it off to them. But when you share, we know. And if your name is drawn next week, you're going to get a
tasty beverage from my selection here. And if I can give you a hint, it starts with a W and ends with a 7. So you whiskey drinkers out there might have an idea what that is. Share the video. Your name will go in a hat. Roger will draw it next week, and we'll see who the lucky winner is.
And if you not want to imbibe on the on the beverages, we've got something else for you to choose from as well. But you might say, listen, I don't really like bourbon whiskey. Why should I continue with this? Because we're talking about a creative space, and that's a reason why you should stick with us. If you were with us a few weeks ago, we were with Rhonda Velez. She's an author. She is a career coach. She's a podcast host. And if you shared that video 2 weeks ago, or between that Tuesday at 7 and now, your name is in the chat. And if your name is drawn, you get a signed copy of one of her books, and you get to choose which one. So you want to go ahead and pick the winner there?
Sure. I'm going to butcher this. Kelly Millerin.
Yeah, Kelly.
Millerin?
Yeah, I think it's Milliron.
Okay.
I think it's Milliron. But
Kelly, you win.
Congratulations, Kelly. She's won before.
Wow.
But the truth is, when you share these, the chances are, if you share every week, you're probably going to win a few times a year. And so, Kelly, you've won. Thank you for sharing all the time. And congrats. We'll go ahead and get that book to you. We are in the Whiskey and Wisdom Room.
We are.
The one thing that really drew me in was when you said, we're gonna meet, but there's an important thing, the manifesto.
Yeah. It's a little thing my wife Tricia and I wrote, and it's something we make. Everybody who their first time in has to read it, so you get a vibe of what the room was about and what it's really about. It's not just about whiskey. You could have a cup of coffee in here. It's about sharing dialogue, ideas, having conversations, being friends, telling stories, laughing, maybe crying, joking, all that stuff. Deep conversations, light conversations. That's what we wanted to build here.
since you're inviting thousands of people to your whiskey room digitally, we got to take them to the manifesto.
All right.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Ken, feel free to jump in too, because Ken was an inspiration behind this as well. But
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
yeah.
So welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Room, where we pour proof and we're distilling life. We believe that some of the finer moments in life are found at the intersection of a quality pour and meaningful conversation. The Whiskey and Wisdom Room is more than just a beautiful space. It's a room built for banter, authenticity, and connection. Here, the clinking of glasses marks the beginning of deeper inquiries, shared histories, and the genuine exchange of wisdom, stories, and ideas. This is where we distill the chaotic experiences of life into coherent shared lore, where we raise a glass not to forget life, but to embrace and share it. So pick your proof, have a pour, neater on the rocks, take a seat, and enjoy conversation encouraged by a perfect dram. Now, if that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will.
I think almost every creative space should have a manifesto of some sort. Tell us like how you, why you chose a manifesto. Was this something that you had seen before and you're like, we need one of those? Or was that something that you came up with as an introduction to the space and your philosophy behind people who
I think it was really Trish's idea. She thought about a logo. Like, I hadn't gone that far yet. She thought about a logo, which we have a logo, which we're working on getting that printed up and hung. But and she said, well, we need a manifesto too. And I'm like, what do you manifesto? What are we doing? And then she started explaining it to me, and it just made so much sense. And that took a while. That took 3 or 4 different drafts. We wanted to get words of distilling that are in there, but yet pertain them to life and how distilling whiskey can be like life. And I think it came out perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that there's folks out here that agree as well, because I almost can smell this.
You almost can smell it?
I can almost smell it from this far. I don't have a very good sniffer, but
yeah,
should we start here?
You want to toast?
Yeah, let's toast to. So what is it? What's in this pour?
So this is Old Forester's 1924 10-year-old bourbon. It's 100 proof, and it's fantastic, folks.
I'm gonna bring this up here. You got a good. All right. Why did you choose this?
Because I know it's good and it's kind of special, and it just happened to be in my line of sight. So cheers, friend.
Cheers.
Thank you for this, and thank you for having me on your show. I love it.
Tell us a little bit about the glass, because we were talking about that before, right? Because whiskey drinkers will pour whiskey into different vessels.
This is called a Glencairn glass, and it's specifically designed for whiskey. Was really designed for scotches and whiskeys, and it helps collect the aromas and fumes of the bourbon or whiskey you're drinking. You can tilt it and see legs from the whiskey on the glass, just like you would a wine on a wine glass. And it allows you to take in the nose. You can pick up things like oak and cherries, and if your palate is defined.
Yeah. See that glass, but you can see a little bit of the legs.
And for bourbon drinkers, whiskey drinkers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People who don't drink whiskey, maybe this will inspire you to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's to you.
That's a good way to start.
That's really nice, isn't it?
That's a good way to start the interview. We talked about the manifesto, which included words like neat or on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
As a whiskey drinker, and we're going to get into the space, deep into the space. But before we leave the whiskey, neat and on the rocks, right? If you're not a whiskey drinker, right? Tell us the difference between those.
Well, whiskey, neat, is just like you see it. Just pour it in a glass and enjoyed. You can pour it on ice. That's called on the rocks. You can have it as a mixed drink. It's however you like to have it. That's how you have it. It's whatever you enjoy.
the other night. You even pulled a dropper out.
You could put dropper in it, and sometimes the water will make it bloom a little bit. Those aromas, those flavors will come out a little better with a little bit of water in it, and that's something we like to do too in our tastings.
So the process of whiskey distillation, right, is that they grab a barrel. The barrel is made of specific wood. They char the inside. Right?
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm not an expert on it, but I can tell you that it's grains, barley, wheat are involved. What's some of the other ones, Ken? Rye,
corn, right?
Corn, of course, corn.
Right.
51%. Yep.
Yeah.
So all those are cooked and melded together with water, and then all that is drained, put in a charred barrel, brand new charred barrel, and set on a shelf in a rick house and starts to age.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how different whiskey can taste from different parts of the country. I have a Minnesota whiskey, which is very plum, prune kind of forward. And then you have whiskeys from Texas, which can be a little dusty note, a little drier. And they age quicker in Texas because of the heat. The difference in barrels from being on the first floor of a rick house or the top floor of the rick house. Whether that barrel was in sun once in a while. Like the sun would come through a window and hit that barrel for 8 hours a day. Can change things. Now, these are subtle changes. It's not, you don't get a blast of cinnamon or something just because it was sitting there, but it's subtle things that your palate can pick up. And you have to train your palate at the same time. My palate's not that good. It's good enough.
The whiskey, it's not even whiskey at the time, right? The alcohol that's poured in there, is it like a grain alcohol? Would that be the correct? I don't know if that's the correct. But
yeah, I don't know that it is either.
Poured into the whiskey, it's probably filled. The whiskey sits, but during the 8-year, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, the barrel breathes.
Yes.
Right? And the whiskey goes in and out of the charred sides.
Yes.
And based upon whether it's high, whether it's low, or the winters, or all those components affect the taste of the whiskey.
100% right.
And then when you pull it out, I understand is like if you take, and the only reason why I know this is because we had the good blessing to tour Woodford. After like 10 years, you would think that there would be as much alcohol in that barrel as you put in.
No,
I mean it's like less than a half. A third of the barrel is filled with the bourbon or the whiskey that
what's the word where the water turns to air? What is that, Ken? Evaporates.
Yeah, evaporates.
It'll evaporate in the barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whiskey's already got to me. See that?
As we're talking whiskey, right, and wisdom, I want to return back to the space, right?
Sure.
Because I know that there's a lot of folks here that say, man, like where do you start, or like what's the history? How did you know that you should create a space? So take us back. Like where did the inspiration go? I know that you liked whiskey before the whiskey room began, but you decided upon a space for a reason. What is that?
Sorry about that. Well, it really started with my wife, Patty, Tricia. Some of you know her as Tricia and Patty. Anyway, we moved into this house about 5.5 years ago, and we did nothing with this room. It was just carpet. The dog's toys are in here. It was nothing. And she had talked about for some time, just through the idea around of, we should make this into a room where it's a lounge, 4 chairs around a table where you can have conversations. In a living room, typically you're spread around the room and you're far from each other. When you get in a room like this with 4 chairs, it's very quaint. It's very personal. You're right next to each other as you're speaking, and it adds something to the conversation.
Yeah.
But when we started looking at prices of things, that kind of went by the wayside, So we had talked about it. It was kind of a dream. And then what really got the juices going on it is went to visit my brother Ken.
Ken's over here.
Yeah, and he surprised me, taking me up to his bourbon room, and I was blown away. Like, this is epic. Beautiful paint on the walls. He redid the floor. All his whiskey and bourbon were set up, and it really, man, we should do this. But even then, we were kind of hesitating. So we went to a furniture store, to buy furniture for another room. After being there for an hour or so, my brother Ken again comes over and says, "You need to come see this table over here."
Show us this table, because this table is, first of all, we're able to tell the time.
Yeah, right.
We're able to tell the time. It seems to fit with the whiskey and wisdom. I mean, was part of your emblem,
Yes, our logo
your logo
has this kind of thing in it. That's the center part of it. And so my wife goes with Ken, sees the clock, and comes back and says, "We're doing the bourbon room." Now, I have an idea what I want the bourbon room to look like already in my head. But when she said that, I knew, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to really do this. There'll be, we're going to do it all out. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. The whole thing. So we ordered this furniture.
So this came first?
That was the catalyst to do it all. And at the same time, we ordered this furniture, and the ball started rolling. It took 12 weeks for the furniture to come in. At that time, we're like, okay, well, we got to pull carpet. We got to start painting. Now, we're committed now. Just spent a bunch of money on this stuff. So in the store, my brothers said, "Listen, we'll take care of everything, as far as getting the room ready." So I owe him a debt of gratitude, because he did the work on this amazing floor. He helped me with the painting, and he had a big hand in this. And I owe him a debt of gratitude for it. And he's the reason this room looks as great as it does.
It looks great.
So
it looks great. So what inspired you, Ken? I know you're off camera, so I'm going to walk off camera and he can just leave here. So what inspired you to start with your whiskey room?
My son had got married in December of 2023, and we went to Bourbon Country in 2020, in between Christmas and New Year of 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I had 50, 60, 70 bottles downstairs in my basement, and it's like, man, it's just a waste down there. They look nice. I mean, as you can see here, I got to do something. And my wife, it was actually her idea. She saw me pacing the floor. I had a few days left before the Christmas break was over. And she was like, "Why don't you turn Owen's room, my middle son, why don't you turn his room into a bourbon room?" I thought she was joking. So I was laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." And she's like, "No, please turn it into a bourbon room."
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat now once I turned it into that. And, again, put the flooring in myself, did all the work myself. And when we set it up, it was like, she's like, "Man, I could sit in here with a glass of wine." So there's 2 chairs in it. That's all there is 2 chairs. Yeah. We have to pull in other chairs when other people come over. But we'll turn on a TV show and watch the show together, and she'll have her glass of wine. I'll have a little glass of bourbon. And it's just a neat little place to sit, and it's quiet, and the lighting is dim, similar to this, and it's just a great space.
Yeah.
It's just worked out really well. Ron comes over, and every now and then we'll do some tastings and what have you. So it's worked out really well. Yeah.
It's kind of like the evolution of the man cave, like the bourbon room, a place you can come in, gather with your buds or your wife, close the door, gather and have whiskey and conversation.
And with this space, kind of just sitting here, if you'd have seen the before, there was nothing going on with it. Totally. It's such a beautiful space. Let's utilize it, and convinced them a little bit too.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the passion to do it, but I kind of egged them into it. Like, you guys need to do this before it's too late.
Well, I'll tell you, thank you, Ken, for sharing that history. I love the fact that the table was the first purchase.
Mm-hmm.
The room was built around it. You built the room around the table.
Yeah.
The chairs, they're comfortable. I would imagine if somebody had a few too many bourbons, they might just fall asleep on here because they're comfortable.
It's been known to happen.
And the backs of the chairs.
Yeah, I sat in 100 chairs that day, frustrated with what they had, and then I sat in this and put my head back like this, and like, these are the ones. Then everybody started sitting it like, okay, yeah. So we had them designed. I picked out all the studs here. I picked out the color of the legs. I picked out the back, the color of the leather, everything, because I knew I had a color scheme in mind. I wanted like almost a Western lodge type feel. Our house is very lodgy. Yeah. And So we wanted to continue that in this room too. Like old looking stuff, hand worked kind of furniture and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I know that whether you've read Rick Rubin's book or Stephen King's On Writing, or you follow artists or you follow Ron Hartwig, you realize that a space is an important thing, right? For conversation, for creation, for writing, for poetry, for artwork. There's probably some common things, right? Certainly the layout is important, right?
Sure.
You've got 4 chairs. Was the number because that's what the room held? Was 4?
Partly because that's what the room held.
Yeah.
These are big chairs.
Yeah.
But 4 is a good number. It's not too many where conversations fade or another conversation grows over there when the conversation means something that's here. So 4 is a good number. More than that, I tend to think that, you start having strand conversations and things. It keeps everybody focused. And you're facing each other. The way these are set up is for that very purpose. And you're facing each other. You're close enough. You can hear that person. And it's really, the whole focus was that,
The paint,
mm-hmm.
dark.
Navy blue.
Yeah.
At nighttime, it looks black.
Yeah, you've got the dark chairs, and you've got some. I know that the lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's in our studio or anything else, lighting seems to be everything, and that's the
thing.
Take us there. Like, show us.
That's the thing when people come in a room, they're like, "Oh my goodness."
So, like, if we look here, right? Did you light this bookshelf?
I did all the lighting myself. Yes, very easy.
Yeah, give us a little behind the scenes tour. So you've got LEDs.
Yes, this is basically LED tape strips. You can find them online for like $20.
Let him
and
squeeze in here.
That's all it is. Tape it to the inside. I drilled a couple holes in some shelves, and that's really all it is. And it casts such a nice light on the bottles and everything. It's fantastic. And these lights change colors. I can pick about any color in the rainbow I want. And of course, I got my T-Rex up there. Lit him up too. Everything in this room that's in this room is intentional. For some reason, it means something to me. It looks cool, something.
Yeah.
There's always something to it.
You've got a screen up here in the time, the short time that I've been here, you have some like ambient, sounds and screensavers.
Yeah, I didn't realize they had commercials in that. So I turned it off. But yes. And we don't always have that on during conversations. Sometimes it's nice and quiet. Sometimes we have music going. So depends on who you're with and what's going on with everything.
Before we pass by this shelf, for the whiskey folks,
mm-hmm.
right? Tell us. Do you have a story or two behind these bottles, or I know that if you're a whiskey collector, right, you are standing in line. You're keeping an eye on where things are at. You're leaving the state. If you're traveling, you pick up a bottle. Any good stories? I know there's a lot of stories behind these, but any good stories behind any of these bottles? Well,
the bourbon community is a great community. It's a lot of nice people, and it's not people who drink bourbon to overconsume. That's not what it's about. Bourbon is a catalyst to conversation, loosen you up a little bit, and it brings people together. It's about community. It's a bourbon community, and in this community, we do stand in lines at stores. You've probably seen us at Giant Eagle earlier in the morning, or at some other liquor store, getting a prize bottle. One of those prize bottles might be a Midwinter's Night's Dram, or a Kentucky Owl, or a Colonel Taylor.
Yeah.
So all these are collectible bottles. So yeah, that's really what it's about with the bourbon people. And of course, we all like to show off our collections. I call it a selection because any bottle here is available to anybody who wants to taste it.
Yeah,
Open it. I'll pop any one. It's funny because I was one of those guys that, I'm not popping a bottle until I get a second one, because I don't want to have one open and then not have a backup. When I finished this room, I made the decision that if people come here to visit and we sit down, they can have any bottle, taste of any bottle in here they want. I'm just opening it up. So that was a big deal for me to come to that conclusion that needed to happen.
For bourbon collectors, right? And I know that, and tell me if this is true, and maybe Ken as well. Do you catalog your collection? Do you keep them online? Do you trade them? Do you like, listen, I got 3 bottles of this. I want to, we'll do. I'm not trading Hot Wheels. I'm trading, a collectibles.
So it's funny you say that because there are apps out there where you can keep track of your selection.
Yeah.
What you have, whether they're common or they're rare or they're unicorn bottles or whatever. So yes, my brother and I both have ours logged into an app where we know every bottle we have. And it's cool if you meet somebody somewhere and they say, hey, I've been wanting an old Forester 1924. Well, I have 2. Trade me this for it. So there is trading in that.
Yeah.
With the bottles that you have. That's why it's always good to have more than one of something.
Take us over. I love the fact that that the lighting is all independent. Like you were setting up the lighting here, and you're flipping through all the different colors, and this is separate from.
Yes. Yeah, that's 4 different strips. There's a strip that goes around here. There's a strip in there. There's a strip on that side and on that side, and they're separate. I can change them to different colors. I can have some blink, some flash like lightning, and it's cool. We tend to think that these lights really get the shock value when people turn the corner and come into the room.
Give us a whiskey. We'll sit back down, and maybe we'll come back here at the very end. But give us a little bit of some information on whiskey, and then we'll get back to the space. Whiskey and wisdom. It's not bourbon and babble. Whiskey and wisdom.
There's a reason it's whiskey.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's whiskey. What makes whiskey whiskey? And I don't know all the information, but I know bourbon is corn, majority corn. Whiskey captures bourbon, rye, and some of the others. Give us a like a 101. Just
there's a saying out there that all bourbons are whiskeys, but not all whiskeys are bourbons. And the reason for that is bourbon must be 51% corn to be called bourbon. You can have a little bit of rye in there, a little bit of wheat, a little bit of barley, and some other things, but it's still 51% corn at least. That makes it bourbon. If you have less than 51% and all those ingredients, that's whiskey. And whiskey and wisdom has a much better ring than bourbon and babble. But whiskey also includes all of it. Rye, I have rye in here, and I have triple mash, sour mashes and things like that. So those are whiskeys. So we wanted to, by saying whiskey, we include all of it.
It's an inclusive room. You probably didn't even know that you were including.
It's inclusive. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Bourbon being 51% corn, right? Because corn tends to be on the sweeter side. Bourbon tends to be on the sweeter side too, right?
Certainly, it can be. If the corn content's a little high, I find that wheated bourbons are sweeter than. Oh. And by wheated, I mean it has corn, but also has a good amount of wheat in it. Yeah. And you get like a cherry sometimes and a little sweeter note on things. That's my favorite. Wheated bourbons are my favorite. Maybe it is because of that sweetness in them.
Whiskey, we hear whiskey, we hear scotch. I hear, is there a difference in spelling for whiskey? K-E-Y and K-Y at the end? I don't even know. Is
if you're spelling a K-Y, I think you're spelling it wrong.
Okay.
But then I don't know. I don't know.
Is it, I thought the Scots.
Oh, maybe they do.
Spelled it K-Y. So if you saw a bottle spelled, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe folks out here know, right?
Somebody put in the comments.
So somebody throw it in the comments. If you don't know, jump in and.
Is Scotch K-Y or K-E-Y? Yeah. I don't have Scotch. I'm not a fan of Scotch. I know there's people out there that love Scotch, and good for you. Enjoy it.
If you had to choose, if you had to drink only one, bourbon, wheated, whiskey, or rye for the next 12 months, which of those 3 would you choose?
Well, it would be between wheated and rye. And depending on the rye, it might be that. That Midwinter's Dram up there is a special bottle. The new Riff Balboa rye is a special bottle. Those ryes are fantastic.
Ron Brock just said whiskey KY is European.
Oh,
KY is European. Thank you, Ron.
thank you, Ron Rock.
Ron is across the street next. Stumbled back from his house a few times. Back over to ours. Ron, thank you for joining us today and for that bit of knowledge. Rye. We've heard American Pie, right? And drinking whiskey and rye.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was like, what the heck is that? I don't even know. But rye is the grain.
Yep.
That is used to distill. And I don't even know. Do you know what the rye content is to be considered rye?
A rye can be any content could be called a rye as long as it's not. I think as long as it's not 51% corn, because there are bourbons with rye in it,
right,
for sure. But to be called a rye, I think it has to be a whiskey. So less than 50. I think maybe somebody out there knows better than I do. It has to be less than 51% corn in your rye content. Like that Balboa rye is 95% rye. And I think the other 5% is barley. So that's a high rye. That's almost total rye in there. And I have another bottle that's 100% rye, and that's a strong flavor profile.
For those of you who have not been to a Tuesday at 7 interview before, on the very bottom left-hand side of your screen, there's an arrow. When you press that arrow, it gives the opportunity to share. And when you share, we know it. If you share and your name is drawn next week, you get the opportunity for a tasty bottle. And then what's the little teaser there?
The hint was it starts with a W and ends with a 7. Ron Rock's going to know what that is, I think.
Yeah.
I think he will.
And if for some reason you're like, listen, I don't drink whiskey, you can find a way maybe to find a gift, or perhaps choose from a adaptogen bottle as well. So we encourage you to share it. The space. Let's go back to the space, and then we'll kind of come back to the whiskey and maybe some of the other nuances of whiskey too. The space. You decided to bring components, necessary components here, right? And designated a spot in your house, kind of a corner spot in your house. I mean, we're looking out at your beautiful front yard here, but you didn't do it just to drink whiskey. You brought it to bring people together, right?
100%.
Tell us about that, and I want to get your opinion on conversation that happens at your gatherings, even before this room. But right now, you create a space where I think it encourages those conversations even to a higher level.
Yeah, this room does not have to be whiskey. It can be water, it can be coffee, whatever you feel that night. It's about conversation. It's about people being able to gripe about something. It's about people being able to tell stories about their life, somebody they love, something they're going through, something that's really funny that happened to them or to a family member, whatever it is. It's dark, it's cozy, you get a sense that you can open up. And that's what it's really about, is you're in an intimate setting and you're with people you love, people you know well, and you're able to you just feel like you can open up and share things that maybe you normally wouldn't share with other people. Maybe you need to get something off your chest. I've had these conversations on my deck also, usually with a cigar with some friends. Sorry, I do that too. But we've almost had church out there a couple times with some people. Some really emotional moments, and people will open up when they feel led to. And I think that's important. We can all share ideas and share stories and share passions. And I like having a place where that can happen. My wife and her idea of doing this is fantastic idea. Now, this design is pretty much all mine, but it was her idea to do a room like this. And she picked out the rug and all that. So, but that's what the room's about.
Thank you, Tricia, for encouraging,
she's amazing,
for finding the table. A cigar and the correct space, I think, has a similar thing, right? And a cigar to me, and I'm not a cigar smoker. I'll smoke a cigar with friends, and I absolutely understand and vibe with that culture. But to me, and tell me if this is true of the whiskey and the cigar smokers, is that I'm committing. I don't know how long does it take to smoke a cigar. 45 minutes, an hour, maybe.
Hour, depending on depending how
I'm
fast you're. Hour and a half.
An hour.
Yeah.
To chalk.
Yeah.
Often with other men, but with other folks that are agreeing. We're going to sit down for an hour and we're going to shoot the breeze.
Yep. 100%.
And that's kind of what was happening here too.
It exactly does the same. This bourbon, coffee, whatever it is, can do the same thing if the space is right, I believe. And if you're at home thinking about doing a room, some kind of space, I highly encourage you to have an idea, have a dream about it, whatever, and do it. Because it can change you. It changed our house. It changed our mindset when we come into this room. It's really a fantastic thing that's happened. So it's great. We love it.
If somebody were to create a space, and let's talk in a general sense right now. I can see from the wonderful clock we've been running for 30 minutes, and I don't know how that, or 35 minutes. I don't even know how that happens so fast. It felt like we just pressed the button and went live. Whether they're creating a whiskey and wisdom room or whether they're creating an art studio, I would imagine the space, the seating, the lighting, the setup, the accoutrement, right? I even saw some chocolate here, which is a whole different component. And so you're bringing in things that you're creating a social space as well. I would imagine that carries over to other things as well, whether you're creating an art studio, whether maybe you're even creating an art space, not where you do artwork, but where you gather.
Even a writing room, some kind of library, something like that, where you can just go and relax. Sometimes you're alone with your thoughts. Sometimes I come in, I just turn the TV on and put on my headphones and relax that way, without whiskey. But just to be in here, there's a little bit of an aura about it. And if you're an artist and you want something where you can concentrate on what you do, create a space for it and put things in it that mean something to you. I have a great piece up here that I got from a friend. I have personal things that I have over there that I've gotten from a nephew and something I built. It's stuff that means something, so I can look at those and go, yeah, that's something. Everything in here is intentional. Should be the same way in your room, whether it's Hello Kitty stuff or whatever it is, something that means something to you. Make it personal. It's your room. It's your space. And then when people come in, you have opportunities to talk about those things that mean something to you.
Yeah.
And that can spark the conversation. And next thing you know, 2 hours go by. You've had a great time.
Whiskey is the right amount becomes certainly like a social opener, right? I would say that here's my opinion. I'll ask Craig and Ken and certainly Ron. There's probably a point where, as you tip back a glass, right? We're committing to some tasting. We're sipping. Maybe we're being a bit dramatic about it, but we like that, that piece. And men don't get a lot of men time. But I think after drinking a pour or two, that we tend to communicate differently.
You tend to loosen up. And you tend to open up.
Yeah.
And it's a great catalyst for that. I believe in it wholly.
I think a lot of
Now listen, folks, everything's done in moderation. We don't drink responsibly, all those things. Everything's done. Nobody gets drunk in here, none of that stuff. We keep it positive, keep it light. Keep it easy and have great conversations.
Whiskey and wisdom, right? Because sometimes I think when people start to drop those social norms or, whatever, roles we have to play during the day, or as a parent or as a caregiver or as a boss or as a manager, and all of a sudden we sit down and we're all at the same level, we're eye to eye. This might be just going, okay, time to drop all those differences and let's find things that bring us together. I bet you that there's stories that you've had. Now, this is probably prior to Whiskey Room, but where you're like, yeah, we gathered together, and there was a bond that was created by this, and then opening up meaningful conversation.
100%. You learn more about people, and they're willing to open up and share. And like I said, we've shed tears, we've had belly laughs, the full spectrum of emotion. And sometimes it got a little heated, but it's just good conversation. There was a time in this country when our parents would go to the neighbors and sit on front porches every night and talk over coffee or a beer, or your mom would have, that cake is for the neighbors. If the neighbors come over, we're going to have cake. We need to maybe get some of that back in our world today. Open up conversation and could sit at different ends of any spectrum on any subject. Let's talk about it.
All right. Here's a. I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it because I bet you that the audience is wondering. We talked about some of your favorite whiskeys. Do you deviate from whiskey? Like, what do you have other, like, is whiskey a winter drink? Do you deviate? Do you add stuff to it in the summertime as we're coming into spring here? It's April 2026. For those who are date savvy, because people will watch this in 10 years from now, but the seasons change. Does your whiskey pours change? Does your choice of beverage change?
So my whiskey is always on the menu. But in the summer, I do like tequila. I like rum. I have a few of those things. I like spirits that are created naturally. Tequila's from a plant and then aged, and rum is sugarcane and then aged, and bourbon is grains and then aged. Now, here's a joke that might offend some people, but I always say, you can make vodka in your bathtub. So I don't drink a lot of vodka, although with a little bit of lemon, it's pretty good. So I like the natural liquors out there. And if I offended you out there, I'm sorry. Give me a thumbs down on the thing. but that's my opinion on those spirits. So yeah, summertime, the classic tequilas come out, and the rums will come out a little bit, and that leads to the same thing,
Is there a give us a little schooling as we're kind of rounding third on our conversation on the whiskey and wisdom room. Give us a little bit of direction about the social aspects. What I mean by that is, right? If somebody's pouring whiskey, right? Oh, a fine bottle of whiskey. What is there social nicety to that?
Well, I think there is, based on, whiskey has a community. Mm-hmm. And when whiskey drinkers see a whiskey being poured, usually there's a conversation that happens immediately. Like, what do you got? What are you having? Can I have some? Stuff like that. Yeah. Where'd you get it from? Yeah. How much you pay? Yeah. All that stuff. And do you want to trade for it? So I think there's natural conversation among whiskey drinkers. It could be for other spirits too. I don't know. I'm sure wine people do the same thing. And wine can certainly, we've had wine in here. So you can certainly use that too. I think like I said, I think it leads to conversation. It leads to even the pouring of it. And the reason you're pouring it in this glass, somebody asks a question like you do, why this glass? So it leads to conversation. Next thing you know, you're talking about, God knows what. So
if somebody were to crack open $100 bottle of whiskey, right, and set it down in front of you, I would say wait until everybody's served, right? Wait for perhaps because it's a sharing. Whiskey is a communal thing, mm-hmm. right? And perhaps it's wait for a toast or make a toast.
Sure.
Right? Or, because at that point, even before a drop of whiskey touches your tongue, and then you're already connecting.
There's an anticipation of good times. Good times are going to happen.
Tell us about that. And I don't know. I'm sure that there's a whole science behind toasts. But,
yeah, I'm not a very good toaster, but certainly this is $100 bottle. And certainly when a $100 bottle comes out, or to be honest with you, I have $28 bottles that are just as good as this $100 bottle.
Great whiskeys.
It's not necessarily the amount of money you spend on a bottle. It's the fact that it's out, and we're going to have a little bit, and we're going to be able to talk about it and have a conversation about that, have a conversation about life. You know, that's what it is. The $100 I got $180 bottles in here. That's not the point. Now, it can be special, you know. Hey, I've got this brand new $200 bottle, guys. Let's pour it. Then there's a whole other different kind of anticipation.
Yeah.
So there is that too. But yeah, any whiskey is good for any. It could be coffee, gourmet coffee. Like I said, it's not just whiskey.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
It does. Yeah, it does. And I wasn't sure. I mean, you know, I sit there and I'm like, I always wait. Right, I always wait till everybody gets their pours.
Yeah.
I wait until there's a toast. Maybe I might even say, because I love the connection that occurs around this. You know, I'm an absinthe drinker, and
Yes.
absinthe, right, has a whole ritual behind
Yes.
the lighting and
I've been there for
the
that.
spoons and everything. And so I'm a big fan of those connectors, the rituals behind, you know, what we do, whether it's a cigar, whether it's a great pour of bourbon or rye, or I don't drink as much scotch either. I'm not sure why that is.
Because it doesn't taste good? No
maybe.
offense to Scotch drinkers.
Yeah, I like the real peaty, like the real smoky
Yeah.
ones.
It tastes like
it just takes you.
tastes like earth
barbecue.
and dust. No, joking. I'm joking, folks. It's all good.
When I did the bourbon trail down in Kentucky, right? They had you cleanse palate. They had, I think there was oyster crackers or some chocolate,
Yes.
or pairings. Is there anything there that you buy into, or is that just, you know?
I think all of that works. I think you can actually pair your whiskeys with. We have fruit out here at times. We have crackers. We have flavored crackers. I have chocolate readily available. Pretzels. I think one of the great things with bourbon is barbecue, and that's a whole nother show with me barbecuing meats now, on smoking meats. It's bourbon and smoked meats is one of the greatest inventions of mankind.
I agree.
Yeah, it's something. There's something about it that's and that smoking of meats brings people together too. All that is about community, and I love doing that stuff.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of times that I'll stand around with the Hartwig, brothers around the grill,
Yeah,
with a bottle, and we're just like, that top comes open, and Ron grabs his tongs, is like, here you go.
yep.
And I'm getting burnt ends and like all. I mean, there's magic there. I absolutely agree with that 100%. Are there, along the way, right, as a collector, as somebody who enjoys it, are there content creators out there that you follow? You're like, listen, if you like bourbon, or are there some content creators you're like, yeah, this is a great one to watch. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, there are. I guess I'll throw him a plug. The first guy that got my brothers and I attention is a guy that goes by Bruzel on YouTube. And he is one of the great guys to follow. He's a bigger fella, happy, jolly, does a great job with his content. And he's really the reason that we started collecting. And it's the information that he passes on is, we've learned so much on what a good bottle is and what it isn't. And there's a few others of those. As far as smoking meats goes, I love the Meat Church guy. He's fantastic. And How to Barbecue Right, that big fella and that stuff. So there are people I follow because it's educational. You get an education and you get inspired by what they're doing to do your thing.
Yeah.
So
and they have access, if I could interject, they have access to more expensive and more
rare.
bottles.
Yeah.
So where if and can tell you the tasting points of those bottles, where if you ever have an opportunity to buy one of those, which sometimes more than likely out of your budget,
Right.
you'll at least know you're buying something that you're going to enjoy based on their synopsis of it.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of
Yeah, that's the education part. Yep.
I'm going to ask this question right before we kind of wrap things up. As a young lad, and even as a father to young kids, I'd go to the Hot Wheel pegs. I go, got it, need it, treasure hunt, like know what to
Really?
know what to pick up. But bourbon is a whole different level of like, adult collecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that you were saying you got a bottle from Minnesota regionally, right? Like if you're on a road trip and you happen to go, I'm going to be in, I'm driving through Kentucky on a fishing trip, or I'm going to be up in Michigan. Regionally, the availability of whiskeys are different too.
100%. It's hard for us to go anywhere and not step in a liquor store and just see what they got.
You got to.
You know,
I need
you're
that
always,
one.
You're always hunting. You're always looking at the city. Hey, we're down in Memphis, Tennessee. Let's see what's down in this area. So yeah, that's certainly part of it. If you get hooked on this, yeah, you'll be looking for it everywhere. You'll be one of those guys.
Yeah.
Standing in lines and yeah, buying whiskey every week.
Yeah, and keep an eye, because there's websites out there, right, Ken? That you're like, hey, we're going to find out if they're going to have a case of something cool, and you go stand in line. You find out what time the liquor store opens, and you go and
the HLQ website.
Yeah.
After midnight on like a Friday night, tells you what's going to be dropped on Saturday mornings and that sort of thing. I've gone out there and stood in line at 5 o'clock in the morning for something, and the store doesn't open until 9.
And I would imagine
he's crazy. I don't do that.
That gets you those bottles that are very, very hard to come by.
Yep.
It's worth it. My one son will go out there with me every now and then, and they'll hang out with me, and we have a good time together talking to the people online.
And you're even connecting other collectors by
There's a whole community there and conversations that happen standing in line. I just did it a couple weeks ago. Met people I would have never met before.
Yeah.
Talk about bourbon. I met a young lady. She couldn't have been about 23 years old, and I think she knew more about bourbon than I did. And I was so impressed. And so it's you'll be amazed at who you meet, and they're all nice people. It's really a great community. So
for those who are watching, as we're kind of wrapping up our talk with Ron, thank you for inviting the community
thank you
here
for having
into your
me.
room.
It's amazing.
Thank you for your shares. That's really what that's what our hopeful wish is that you share this to your friends list and perhaps to other groups. There is a arrow on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. When you press it and you share it to your friends list or to a group, we know it. And next week, if your name is drawn, you get the opportunity for a tasty bottle of amber
golden goodness
to build your own community. But Ron, as knowing you as a friend for years, you always said, I'm not creative. Well, tonight you proved us wrong. You are creative, and you've brought us into the space. And I'm going to leave you with one question. Craig, was there any questions out there that we're going to throw in?
There's one I wanted to stop with. Ron Rock replied to an earlier question. Oh, here we go. Wait a minute.
It looks like we got a lot of comments out there. Thank you.
Oh, here it is. Rye, like bourbon, needs to be 51% rye to be called rye.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for that, Ron.
Yeah, great.
Here's our closing question.
That makes sense to me.
Here's our closing question. You've got the whiskey room. You've got the whiskey. When are you going to start a content creation channel? Because I think that's probably, is that in the future? Is that hopefully maybe?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Putting you on the spot. And you can say, you'll have to just follow me. And
yeah, I have some ideas. I don't know if I have the guts to do it. I have some interesting ideas that we'll talk about when this is over.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I put some out, you'll know it. And I'll share it to my friends and they'll make fun of me. And that'll be great.
I lied. I said that was the last question. I've got one more question.
All right.
So what would be the best music that you would play with a
geez.
bottle of Old Forester 1924? Do you have a? And I know that you are a music lover, just like I am.
I would play some low, like dirty blues.
Dirty blues.
Some low down dirty blues, quiet yet gritty, with a 1924, and just sit back and relax. Somebody with a gravelly voice singing. Yeah, that would be my ticket.
Thank you for that. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Craig, and thank you, Ken, for
Thanks,
for
everybody.
allowing us. Thank you for joining us. We'll connect with you next week, and we hope you're the winner.
Roger, thank you.
Absolutely.